I said, look, there's one thing when you want to give it up. And she said, well, you see, I was going to offer you a trip to Medjugorje. I said, well, that's so nice of you. Why would I want to go to Medjugorje? If I could go anywhere, I want to go back to Mississippi and run my business. Thank you very much, but no thank you. Well, I just thought I'd ask. Then she would come every time and talk to me about, tell me a story about this, tell me a story about that, tell me how rural it was. It was so rural you had to bring your own toilet paper. They didn't have no hotels. You stayed with people in their houses. And every day I'd lay there, and the phone would ring, it'd be a bill collector, bill collector, bill collector, bill collector. And then one evening when she came by, she said, you know, it's so rural, they don't even have any phones over there. I said, I don't have any phones? I thought to myself, Yugoslavia? What a great place to hide out. They'll never find me. Yugoslavia? It was called Yugoslavia then. So she said, well, because she had offered me to take me. So I called up this one time after I could, and when I realized that would be a great place to hide out, I called her up and I said, say, does your offer still stand? She goes, what's that? I said, take me to Medjugorje. Yes. She thinks I've been called. Yes, yes, why? I said, well, I want to go. No. You want to go? I go, oh, yeah, I want to go. She said, well, okay, well, let me think now. Because, you see, June is the anniversary, and it'll be, and that would be June of '87. Now, you can imagine, that was in its heyday. Thousands and thousands of people were coming. She says, well, you know, we don't want to take you on that trip because it'd be far too crowded. Forget that. So they schedule a trip, it gets canceled, and we end up going on June of '87. But she says to me, she says, you have to go to the doctor first and see what the doctor says. So I call my mother. I'm an only child. My mother is so worried about me mentally because I'm going to tell you something. To be perfectly honest, there was times that I was suicidal. I had nothing to hold on to. I thought, what is there? I had no faith. I had no anything. And I was actually suicidal. I was so depressed. And my mother's so worried about me that if I said I wanted to go to the moon, she would have called Neil Armstrong. So they come and I tell my mother about this. My mother's Baptist. She said, oh, well, you know, yeah. So we go to the doctor, and the doctor said, you want to go where? I said, Medjugorje. Why? I said, well, let me tell you something. They're selling peace over there. Everybody that goes over there gets peace. And if there's a place on earth that's selling peace, I'm going to get it. And he said, oh, wait a minute. Now, let's see. And my mother said, doctor, please. I'm so worried about her mind. He said, okay, well, let's go take an x-ray. Let's take a look. So he goes in there, and he comes back, and he says, and he takes a hold of my ankle and the calf of my leg, and he goes like this. And he said, you see that? He said, you've been all these months in a cast. He said, I heard of that place. He said, a doctor's wife went over there, and he says, and it's very rocky, and the terrain is bad and everything. He says, if you make one wrong step, he said, you'll be back crying in your beer or something, man. He said, man, that's just not, my mother, please, doctor. I'm so worried about her mind. He said, well, how long would you be gone? I said, just 10 days. He said, well, I could put you in an extra heavy-duty cast and send you. That's good enough. Put me in an extra-duty cast. I'll only be gone 10 days. I'm not going to climb no mountain or nothing. No, that's good. So they do. They put me in an extra-duty cast. I called her up. I said, I can go. Well, at this particular time, some of you that went back at that time will remember they had Yugoslavia Airlines and all that. And you went up the ramp, and I forgot all about how it was going to be to travel. And you see, I wouldn't tell anybody where I was going. I told people I was going to Europe. I'm going to Europe. And, you know, she told me, there's no hotels. You stay in people's houses and stuff. So I pictured that I would probably stay in a little chalet along the Adriatic, and I'd lay on the beach while they went and did their thing. So, and I'm talking to myself, and I'm saying, you're already depressed. You need to do this. This will pull you out of your depression. I'm talking myself into this, but I would not tell anybody where I was going. I would just say, I'm going to Europe, to a few people. Well, I had no idea about the travel to get there and how difficult it was to get there. So I'm getting, at this particular time, we went up the rear of the plane, and I got this extra heavy-duty cast on, up to here. I'm going up the steps. Do you know everybody that sat in front of me had to push their seat all the way back, and the cast ran all the way back up here? I had all those times on the plane. I said, well, let me just tell you this. When I got off that plane, I was in a real good mood. So I was just happy to get off the plane. We get off the plane, and I said, oh, my God, we're here. Oh, praise Jesus, we're here. Then they dropped this on me. Well, we have a bus trip. But it's along the Adriatic Sea, and it's beautiful. So, oh, okay. So we get on the bus. Now we're on the bus. I'm not Catholic. It's a 2-hour bus ride. And somebody on the bus has the idea and says, let's pray the rosary. Well, they began to pray the rosary. And it went on and on and on and on. It was like the Energizer Bunny. It didn't stop. Now all I want to do is get off the bus. We finally pull into Medjugorje. Now, I told you I worked in radio. And I worked for the Rock in New Orleans. It was rock station. I pull in 1987, June of 1987. There's people everywhere. They got tents everywhere. The only way I can describe this to you coming from where I was it was Woodstock for Catholics. I never saw anything like this. So we pull in, and now all I want to do is get off the bus. I get off the bus. Look, by the time I got off the bus, I knew the rosary. I mean, 2 hours. So now I get off the bus. I start walking they said, go behind the church, and your tour guide will meet you and bring you to the house. I get off the bus. They got these loudspeakers coming out of this church. And now the rosary's coming out in 100 languages. And I see all these people. And they're walking around with what I call church faces. And they had all these chairs. And they go into confession. I don't know what that was. And they kneeling down, they go into confession, everybody's walking around. I got to tell you the truth. It looked at me like someone said, the world will end in 20 minutes. So I get out and I look at this and I said to my friends, I said, this is it. This is where we're going to be for 10 days. This is the most depressing place I've ever seen in my life. And I am already depressed. Why? What would possess you to bring me here? Where is the beach? Can you imagine? They're kneeling at the cross.